Pues muy buenas tardes a todos, muchas gracias por estar aquí y más que nada muchas gracias por creer en la Universidad Iberoamericana, por inscribirse a este diplomado en Diseño y Construcción Sostenibles. Esta es la es la sexta edición de este diplomado y por lo tanto pues lo hemos venido mejorando, perfeccionando con las opiniones de los profesores mismos, también obviamente de los alumnos, y hemos ido construyendo una masa crítica en pro de la sostenibilidad, que ya cuenta pues con más de 350 profesionistas que están trabajando ahora en estos temas. Entonces, pues gracias por ser parte de esta, o comenzar siendo parte de esta familia. Y pues siempre iniciamos la primera sesión con una conferencia magistral, pero antes de presentarles al invitado del día de hoy, yo quisiera agradecer pues a los que están conmigo compartiendo esta mesa. Están los dos coordinadores de módulos, que son el arquitecto Raúl de Villafranca y el arquitecto Jorge Calvillo. Muchas gracias por estar aquí y yo les pasaré la palabra a ellos más adelante, que les expliquen pues una serie de cosas del contenido del diplomado. También está el maestro Carlos Delgado, que es el coordinador administrativo y general de este diplomado, que después también les dirá acerca de algunas cuestiones administrativas que tienen que ver con la logística, los salones, la cuestión de horarios, etcétera, ¿no? Y pues agradecerle muchísimo al director de Educación Continua, el maestro José Luis Cortés, que está ahora con nosotros en este momento para inaugurar oficialmente este diplomado. Muchas gracias y le paso la palabra a José Luis Cortés.
Muchas gracias, Caroline. Bueno, muy buenas tardes tengan todos ustedes. Primero que nada, quiero pues darles la bienvenida a este diplomado de Diseño y Construcción Sostenibles y felicitarlos por haber elegido la Ibero y haber tenido pues la brillante idea de seguirse perfeccionando en este campo de la sostenibilidad. Estamos totalmente convencidos que el tema de la sostenibilidad es uno de los temas prioritarios hoy en día en la sociedad que vivimos, porque, bueno, con todos los fenómenos del cambio climático que hemos observado en el mundo, necesitamos que las edificaciones que se construyan pues tengan mejor, dijéramos, huella ecológica en todos los aspectos, en el sentido de uso y reuso del agua, ahorro de energía, reuso, reciclado de todos los materiales, y que cada uno de los materiales de construcción que se utilizan en la construcción se le pueda conocer su trayectoria desde la obtención de su materia prima, cuáles son las emisiones que se producen. Y además la sostenibilidad pues no únicamente tiene que ver con lo físico-espacial, que es el aprovechamiento de la luz natural y el aprovechamiento del emplazamiento de manera óptima en cuanto a vientos, etcétera, sino también desde el punto de vista pues económico, desde el punto de vista social y de su emplazamiento también en el contexto urbano o en el contexto rural. Yo, antes de continuar, quiero agradecer pues a Caroline, felicitarla mucho porque ha tenido la perseverancia de liderar este diplomado desde hace muchos años y gracias a ella es que cada vez se perfecciona y más y realmente es uno de los diplomados emblemáticos que tenemos dentro de la Ibero y del cual estamos muy orgullosos. Y agradecer mucho, bueno, a todos los colaboradores, porque hay mucha gente atrás que participa activamente en este diplomado. Es decir, Jorge, Raúl, Carlos y muchos otros colaboradores. En particular también agradecer a Claude Ouimet, que ha sido uno de los ponentes importantes en la trayectoria de este diplomado. Ya él les platicará mucho, pero hemos estado en su fábrica de reciclado total del 100% de lo que produce, de manera que no les quiero adelantar porque él se los va a hablar, pero nos enorgullece mucho que esté aquí. Y todos los ponentes que van a tener a lo largo del diplomado son de primera línea, gracias a que este diplomado pues, ha tenido una alianza muy fuerte con el Green Building Council en Estados Unidos, y desde hace muchos años hemos estado participando en sus conferencias anuales, y de ahí también escogemos a los mejores ponentes para poderlos traer aquí a la Ibero. Este diplomado también ya tiene resultados muy tangibles, no únicamente de toda la gente que lo ha tomado, sino afortunadamente hace unos días se salió a la luz la publicación de Diseño, Construcción, Sostenibles, en donde vienen pues una gran cantidad de artículos y experiencias muy valiosas de todos los que han organizado este diplomado, y con apoyo y alianzas de varias empresas, de manera que yo creo que para abrir boca se lo recomiendo mucho que puedan adquirir este libro porque les da una idea general de los contenidos propios del diplomado. Carolyn les platicará más sobre todos los esfuerzos que ella y todo su equipo han hecho para que este libro pueda haber salido en su publicación. Bien, no sé cuántos de ustedes sea la primera vez que vienen a la Ibero, si quieren levantar la mano, ¿cuántos es la primera vez que vienen a la Ibero? Ah, caray, un buen número. Entonces, para todos aquellos que no están familiarizados con la Ibero, pues les puedo decir de manera muy breve que en este campus llegamos en 1988, habían sido los tiraderos de basura, cuando la Ibero se trasladó al poniente de la ciudad, a este lugar, después de haber estado en el sur, en Churubusco, pero que por un temblor de 1979 sus instalaciones se vieron seriamente dañadas, pues nadie creía que podía haber esa reconversión de esta zona. Habían sido los tiraderos de basura, antes de eso minas de arena, y era un terreno muy desolado, es decir, con olores muy intensos, y de alguna manera hemos visto pues cómo una zona urbana se puede transformar de manera muy rápida. En los últimos 20 años sucede que ahora tenemos 250 corporativos alrededor, llegan entre 30 y 40 mil coches entre las 7 y 10 de la mañana y es un enclave importante a nivel local, nacional y de América Latina, con muchos aciertos, pero también muchos problemas y muchos retos. Para nosotros es un gran laboratorio estar aquí y ver todo lo que hay alrededor. Y yo creo que para ustedes también puede ser, porque van a poder observar muchos edificios que están bien resueltos y otros que desgraciadamente no han sido muy aceptados. El futuro de Santa Fe pues va a depender del esfuerzo que en conjunto se haga para poder salir adelante, pero sobre todo si ustedes lo analizan desde el punto de vista de la sostenibilidad, pues va a ser un buen análisis que pueden hacer. No les quiero yo dar mis conjeturas, pero ustedes mismos las pueden sacar de lo que significa un enclave como estos. La Dirección de Educación Continua, de parte de la universidad, que este campus tiene 11,000 alumnos y alrededor de 4,000 entre maestros y empleados administrativos, 15,000 gentes que vienen aquí todos los días. La Dirección de Educación Continua es como la ventana de la Ibero hacia afuera, y en ese sentido, pues nuestra misión es atender las necesidades de la sociedad en general, de cómo actualizar el conocimiento y cómo ampliar los conocimientos de todos los profesionales, también de nuestros exalumnos, de nuestros maestros y de los empleados administrativos. Estamos convencidos que hoy en día uno puede tener un título profesional, pero si no se actualiza se va quedando rezagado, y que la tecnología lleva a tal velocidad que son muchos los conocimientos que tenemos que incorporar en nuestro quehacer profesional, y en ese sentido, pues aquel que sigue desarrollándose y que sigue incrementando sus conocimientos, pues es mucho más demandado en este mundo tan competitivo. Y en ese sentido, lo que hemos tratado en la Dirección de Educación Continua, pues es de ofrecer la mayor posibilidad de cursos y diplomados de manera amplia en todo, en arte, en diseño, en arquitectura, en cuestiones de política, de derecho, de administración, de finanzas, de nutrición, de salud, cuestiones relacionadas con la psicología, mucho con la comunicación, mucho también de desarrollo humano, que ese es el fuerte de la Ibero, en gastronomía, en fin, es una amplia gama de cursos y de diplomados. Se dan alrededor de 350 cursos y 350 diplomados al año. Y en este sentido, contamos con alrededor de 600 maestros en educación continua. Desde hoy, ustedes son parte de la Dirección de Educación Continua, de manera que aquí tengo las cartas de bienvenida para cada uno de ustedes, en donde básicamente, bueno, pues dice que la Dirección de Educación Continua les desea darles la más cordial bienvenida a este diplomado, agradecerles que se hayan inscrito en el mismo y que, bueno, la universidad se enorgullece de brindarles un programa académico de la más alta calidad y que estamos convencidos que la situación actual del país requiere de una constante capacitación de profesionistas para afrontar los retos actuales y del futuro y que esperamos cumplir con sus expectativas y satisfacer sus necesidades de capacitación y nos ponemos a sus órdenes para que este programa sea la mejor experiencia educativa posible. Y aquí están los datos específicos de Caroline, ¿verdad? Y de Mirna Arzate por parte de Educación Continua para atender todas sus peticiones. Se los voy a, para no quitar mucho tiempo y distribuir a cada uno de ustedes, se los voy a entregar a Carlos Delgado para que después se los entregue a ustedes estas cartas. Fíjense si sus nombres están bien escritos porque así van a salir al final sus diplomas. Este es uno de los diplomados que cuenta con más gente, ¿no? Muchos de nuestros diplomados tienen 10, 15, 20 personas y este ha tenido tanto éxito que realmente estamos muy orgullosos. En ese sentido también estamos abiertos para que cualquier consejo que nos quieran dar desde el punto de vista académico de cómo mejorarnos, es decir, siempre estamos en búsqueda de la excelencia, pues nos lo hagan saber. Cualquier consejo, recomendación que nos quieran dar de otros temas que ustedes piensen que son de vanguardia y que la universidad debe contemplar, también bienvenidos esos comentarios. En ese sentido, no quiero abusar de la palabra, nada más ponerme a sus órdenes y desearles mucho éxito a lo largo de este diplomado. Muchas gracias.
Pues aprovechando que mencionó el maestro José Luis Cortés el libro, pues sí ponérselo a su disposición, ya Carlos Delgado les dirá dónde se puede adquirir, está a un precio razonable y además conforma el contenido y el ethos del Diplomado en Diseño y Construcción Sostenibles. Son las ponencias, bueno, no son las ponencias transcritas, sino más bien son artículos escritos por los ponentes que ustedes van a presenciar en cada uno de los módulos. Son 4 módulos y el libro está dividido en esos 4 capítulos que conforman esos 4 módulos, pero ya entraremos al detalle de eso en la próxima reunión que tengamos. Ahora lo que toca es presentar a nuestro invitado principal, a Claude Ouimet, que en realidad ha estado con nosotros varios años y nos da mucho gusto que esté con nosotros porque siempre nos deja muy inspirados. Es un hombre que en realidad está apasionado por la sustentabilidad, es un hombre que trabaja en una empresa que en realidad es un referente para todas las empresas internacionales desde el punto de vista de cómo trata a sus empleados, el producto, cómo lo recicla, cómo lo regresa a la fábrica, todo el producto es producto de reciclaje. Entonces, creo que es un ejemplo para empresarios, para profesionistas y para cualquier persona que esté interesada en cuidar el planeta. Entonces, me voy a permitir leer lo que tengo, la biografía pequeña que tengo de Claude, que por supuesto no le va a hacer justicia, pero pues es necesario. Claude Ouimet es el vicepresidente ejecutivo y gerente general de Interface Floor, Canadá y Latinoamérica, líder mundial en la manufactura de alfombra modular. El liderazgo de Claude en Canadá y América Latina provee el enfoque estratégico necesario para continuar la maximización de toda oportunidad y ayudar a la empresa a asumir el reto del crecimiento en estos importantes mercados. Los 17 años de carrera en la empresa incluyen puestos en manufactura y ventas, Fue vicepresidente y gerente general de Interface Floor en La Grange, Greater Alberta, donde supervisó la implementación de una nueva tecnología sostenible, procesos y equipamiento para Estados Unidos y Canadá. También fue gerente general en el establecimiento en Belleville, Ontario. Interface está inmersa profundamente en la misión de volverse la corporación sostenible líder mundialmente en el esfuerzo para diseñar procesos de desarrollo y manufactura sostenibles. La mezcla de conocimientos de Claude en manufactura, ventas y mercadotecnia le da una perspectiva única para integrar sostenibilidad a través de la cultura corporativa. Con su pasión por la práctica segura ambientalmente, influye en la tecnología manufacturera, en las estrategias de ventas y en los conceptos de mercadotecnia que reflejan la ecomisión de la empresa. Estas tecnologías y programas dan herramientas a otros, incluyendo clientes, vendedores, proveedores, a través de la educación para hacer de la sostenibilidad una idea comprensible y accesible en los puntos de venta. Antes de ingresar a Interface, Claude trabajó para compañías como Peerless Corporation, Domtar Arborite y American Beltray. Es nativo de Quebec y reside ahora en Newman, Greater Alberta, con su esposa Anne y sus 2 hijas. Entonces los dejo en muy buenas manos con Claude Ouimet. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros.
Thank you. Such a pleasure. I think I've been here 3-4 times now, and it's one of the best. I do 35-40 speech a year on the issue of sustainability. So, and coming here, it's always a pleasure. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the room, but I think it's the people. You have an interest in the subject, which gets me pretty pumped up. Thank you for being here, but also thank you for allowing me to speak to you in English, because my Spanish is really bad. And English for me is a second language. My first language is French. So I'm still working on my English as well. So we're going to talk about sustainability. I'm not going to talk about, don't see me as working for Interface and trying to promote a company. That's not why I'm here at all. But I want to promote, and Interface wants to promote sustainability the way we see it, the way we see what needs to be done, specifically in the business world. So to start, I always start with this beautiful picture of our planet. It's just to bring us back a bit, and it'll be just a few slides, but it's just to bring us back into why we're doing this. Why is sustainability so important? It has always been important, but now it's even more important today. But it's never been in our mind, especially not in the business world, but now it has to be. And sustainability is a design problem. It's really, truly a design problem. That's what we have as a problem. It's a design problem, and we're going to talk about that. So, as you see, this beautiful planet cannot expand. All the resources that we have on this planet is all we got. And it seems at times that we think that there's minerals forever, and that all the resources of our planet, no matter if we pollute water, it doesn't matter, there'll still be more water, and in fact, it's not true. So this picture is just to show us that it's defined and it cannot be expanded. I'm trying this technology, by the way. You're the first one who's experiencing this with me. This is our galaxy. And if you were to count, now imagine this, now, count all the grain of sand of all the beaches on our planet, we wouldn't come close to the amount of planets in the universe. And here, I don't know that you're going to see it, but you're going to see it on the screen there. And I'm going to take my pointer. You see this? Ooh, it doesn't work on the screen. Well, you see that little dot there? There's a stripe like this, and there's a white dot. Do you see it? That's Earth. All the wars, all the joy, all the generation, everything, all life took place on this little dot, and it's the only place that we could call home. And yet we seem to have a problem managing the resources of that tiny dot in the universe. And that's basically what sustainability is all about. I want to show you this quick video clip. It's a minute and 30 seconds.
Hace mucho tiempo, antes de nacer el primer ser humano, antes que el primer árbol buscara la luz del sol, su vida comenzó. Respira y crece. Su sangre corre por sus venas, expresa lo que siente y puede sentir dolor. Nos puede alimentar al estar hambrientos, nos puede sanar al estar enfermos. Tiene el poder de regalarnos energía y también el poder de hacernos sonreír. No es una cosa, es la tierra. Y hay una razón para llamarla madre. Docenas de especies desaparecen de la tierra cada día, para siempre. Pero hay esperanza. Con tu ayuda las ballenas han comenzado a retornar. El águila blanca ya no está en peligro de extinción. Y 1 millón de acres de selva tropical han sido protegidos para siempre. Tenemos solo un planeta. Tenemos solo una oportunidad. Nuestra madre necesita de nosotros. Hagamos algo. Algo.
Words in that video clip that when I saw it first, probably in 1994, we don't call it, this planet, Mother Earth by accident. And we're going to make that link a little later. Why do we call Earth Mother Earth? And the other thing is, for a lot of people, it's a thing, but it's not a thing, it's alive. Everything on this planet is alive. So, and everything that is alive operates within a very defined system. What you see here is our problem, really. It's the atmosphere, and it's over here. This is our atmosphere right there. This is the planet over here. And what we're doing right now is that we're changing the chemical composition of our atmosphere. So by changing the chemical composition of the atmosphere, we're capturing the sunlight more than we should. And that creates climate change. How many of you have seen the movie The Inconvenient Truth? Just raise your hand. Okay. So this is what it's all about. It's about climate change. And climate change is caused by the fact that we are creating so much CO2 that we're changing the composition of our atmosphere and we're trapping the heat around the planet. Climate change is serious, very serious. It is affecting all life on this planet. And we are responsible for these situations. There is no scientific right now that are disputing this fact. It is reality. It is what it is. The beginning of wisdom is the recognition and the acceptance of reality. So in order for us to move forward, we need to accept that reality that climate change is upon us. It's happening right now. We could just listen to the news in the United States, around the world, in Bangladesh, in China, in Russia. It is upon us. And I think at this point, we will have the ability to adapt, but I don't think that, and nobody thinks that we could go back to what it was, at least not in the foreseeable future. So we're into something. Now, a lot of people come to these sessions for different reasons. Some because They're worried about the future of their children, which is a very good reason. So they're concerned and they want to learn more about what is it. There's some that are concerned about all aspects of human life, therefore all human life. And there's another group that understands the link of all things, which they're concerned about all life on this planet. And that's what we're going to be talking about. But we have to have that in our minds. Even if you're a business person, if you're an architect, you're a builder, whatever you're doing, we have to seriously talk about this issue and how can you, within what you're doing, could make a difference. When we talk about sustainability, surely it is not an intellectual issue. And it's not a scientific issue either. So it's not a point of arguing here on the scientific issues that we hear. That's not it. And it's not a political issue, and it's not a brand or marketing, because a lot of companies now are getting interested in sustainability because they see that there's pressure from the market for them to change. So there's a lot of greenwashing. We'll talk a bit about it. But that's not the issue. The issue of sustainability is a moral issue. Nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with science. It's a moral issue. And only when we look at it from that perspective can we have the right emotion to start looking at solutions. It is not about changing what we do, strangely enough, but it's more about changing the way we think first. I see companies, I see people rushing into trying to change what they're doing, but they haven't changed their ways of thinking. So it's hard to really get to the right solutions when you're trying to apply a way of thinking that got us in that situations from the get-go. So we got to change the way we think to change what we're doing. And that is a revelation for a lot of people. Because I see, as I said, I see a lot of people just rushing into companies that wants to measure the impact, and it's a great thing that they do this, but after they come to a wall, if they recycle their paper and they're trying to save on energy and they don't know what to do after that. So this is just a slide as a comic, but I thought it was so good because that's really what it is, you know, mankind on the corner there. Part of us is always in denial. That's part of what we are, in denial, meaning when we see that something is so big and the consequences are so enormous, we choose to ignore it because the consequences are just too big to imagine. That's denial. To give you an example how we are all into this, we see people that have the cancer, let's say, cancer of the lungs, and they're still smoking, even though they've been diagnosed as a cancer in the lung. Freud, the Freud, died of a cancer because he was smoking cigars. He was smoking so much cigars that he got a cancer in his mouth. He had 4 operations. He knew where it was going, but he was in denial, and he died from it. So you see how denial is powerful, but this time we got to get out of the denial and really see what is upon us and act on it. But you can't get into this without having hope. Hope is not a strategy, but you need to have hope. And that's what I'm here. I'm not here to tell you for an hour and a half to 2 hours about all the misery that's what's upon us and what the change. That's not it. We're going to talk about how we're going to change this. So when we're talking about sustainability, you have 2 ways to look at this. There's one way, it's the mechanical way of looking at sustainability, which is, what's the environmental impact of everything that we use and the environmental impact of me, of my children, the way we live? What's the environmental impact? So that's mechanic because you measure stuff. So you hire an engineers in your company and you could pretty much measure everything. And we'll talk about the measurements because I will talk about life cycle assessment. I'll explain to you what that is, how it is made. But the element here is the human factor, and that's the big factor. A lot of people think that the earth is in trouble, that the lakes and rivers and the mountains and the oceans are in trouble. But let's refocus this statement. The earth is not in trouble. We are in trouble. Because even if we're not around, the earth will still support life, even if we were not here. So it's a strange way of looking at things. It's like the problem is over there, no, the problem is over here. I want to show you this quick video of the power of one. People, when they see this and they know about sustainability and they know about the problem of climate change and global warming, and they think that me, myself, one person cannot make a difference. And this video is showing that we have everything within one, we have everything to change everything. And these people have changed a lot of things because they had the power that they. So what are these powers? What is the power that we have? Because before we get into the architecture and how we're going to build buildings and how we need to understand how we could make a difference, convince ourselves that we could make a difference, because without that we'll never get to the right solutions. So first, all of you tonight, you have the ability to allow yourself to be inspired. And being inspired means that you put your mind in somewhat of suspension and you're just taking the informations without criticizing all the words or a slide or something. You just let it all in. And we have the power of the collective. If we, just these people, just us here, the people in this room, we have the power of, for our company, we're 5,000. So our interface floor is 5,000 employees. But when you put 5,000 people that are driven on one common purpose, and that purpose is to make a difference, to be part of the solution, it is extremely powerful. Beautiful thing happens. Why? Because if I put 20 architects in front of me, they have some knowledge, common knowledge, being an architect, that's true. But what makes it more interesting is each individual's strengths. We all have strengths, individual strengths, what makes us who we are. And all of what it is, if it puts into contributions to a common purpose of wanting to make a difference, then you're onto something. What I mean by strengths, the one that you have, is You are different than I am, and you're different than he is, and so on and so forth. Your personal strength is something that you could do better than another 10,000 people. And I know that all of you have strengths. All of you. So imagine that we're pulling this because, you see, even if we have a lot of knowledge about sustainability, technical words and technical data, everything, if it stays just here, it'll never be as powerful that is if you have it here first. Because it's from here that things, the emotion, builds up your belief, and then that changes your ways of thinking, and that puts into contribution all of what you are. And that's what makes it so important. We have the power to think. And we have also the power of creativity. And creativity doesn't come from just processing knowledge and changing things. It comes from here. So we have the power of purpose. The people that you saw on that video clip had the power of purpose and conviction. And that's extremely powerful. So imagine that we are all architects or designers, and we're all going to build a city, and we're all on the same page of saying we're going to build this differently. We're going to build this for a sustainable life on this planet. So how are we going to do this? Well, if we're all on the same page and we're all convinced that we could do this, then things happen. But when we're talking about sustainability, and you will see this if you're going to negotiate with a customer, a client of yours, you'll see that we're all coming from different doors. We're not at the same place. Each one of us have a life story, and we're all coming into this from a different perspective. And we have to respect that. When I see people, builders, and I was with some builders not that long ago, and they're asking themselves the question, why should I build green? Would that be profitable? Would that be more expensive? I'm trying to see where they are, and I meet them where they are, and then slowly I bring them to where I think we all need to go. Our field of attention, do you know what a field of attention is? Anyone? Field of attention is what makes, so I'm going to give you an example. How many of you drive a car? Raise your hand. Okay. I'll pick you. What kind of car do you drive? A Jetta, what year? 2004. Okay. Now, I would like, for this exercise, I would like for you to position yourself in your car. You're driving right now. You're driving. And whatever car you're driving, somebody passes you, and that car is the same as the car that you're driving. Okay? Now, without giving your mind any permission at all, but your mind is in action, it looks at the car and it says, wow, that car is younger than my car. Or my car is older than that car. And with the letter at the back of the car, X, L, E, whatever letter, it says to you that that car has more attributes than your car. Or that you should be so lucky that your car has more attribute than that car. Have you been through this when driving? Or if you're thinking of buying something, then suddenly when you're you want to buy something, a trailer for your car, whatever, then suddenly you see all the trailers. You've never seen that many trailers on the road. You want to buy a Mini Cooper, and then you see all the Mini Cooper. You see all the colors that exist on Mini Cooper. That's a field of attention. But if I were to be next to you in your car, my mind would not go through this. Why? Because I don't drive your car, I don't own your car, I don't pay for your car. But the reasons why your mind is going through there, this whole process without permission of you, is because maybe you're still paying for the car. Maybe when you selected the car, it reflects a bit of what you'd like to project, personality-wise. You've picked the color, the exterior color, the interior color. So it's part of you. That's why there's a link. What I'm saying to you now, that if you change your field of attention and you got that sustainability right here, your field of attention will change. And now things will pop up to you. You'll realize that plastic bottle water is not a good thing for this planet. You'll see them all. I see them all. When I walk into a place, the first thing, boom, plastic bottle. Water running. When you're brushing your teeth, you know, suddenly you got it. Oh, you close it. The more you bring yourself like this field of attention will change, and everything in front of you, it'll come up. The beauty about it is that you could use this to be creative. You could use this to build something, to really use everything that is possible to imagine, to make whatever you want to make green. So that's a field of attention, and I tell you, it works. Absolutely, it works. This is a man called Ray Anderson. He wrote 2 books. This is the first book. He's a businessman, and a serious businessman. He started his business in 1972, and his business is to make carpet tile. Started in 1972. Very, very successful. The company is Interface Floor. And in 1994, through one question from one customer, changed his life and changed the life of the company, changed the life of the industry and other industry. One man, one customer, one question changed everything. That customer was John Picard, a guy in California that wanted to build, in 1994, wanted to build a building in California, but a green building. The questions to Interface is, what is Interface Floor and the ecology? And we didn't know what to answer to that questions. Ray never thought of those associations between business and ecology. For him, ecology is on weekends, I'll visit nature, but in business, never think about it. So he had to reflect, and by coincidence, a book landed on his desk, and the book is The Ecology of Commerce by Paul Hawken. I'll show you the book. That is really the 101 for business people that wants to turn green and why they should turn green. That's the 101 book they should read. So Ray read the book. Actually, he read one chapter, one title. It was called The Death of Birth. Ray was 60 years old. He had grandchildren. He had more money than God. Didn't need to do this. But he read that chapter that was called The Death of Birth because he's 60 years old at the time and he has grandchildren. And he says, who's writing a title like this? The Death of Birth. What is he saying? So he read the chapter. He read the book. He was transformed by reading that book. He didn't argue with what was saying in the book. He just allowed that information to percolate him. He called Paul Hawken and he says, I have a company and I'm making carpet tile and I want to change this company. I want this company to be truly sustainable because now I get it. I got it and I need some help. So he surrounded himself with what he called his green team. Paul Hawken, a bunch of other people, Janine Benes, a lot of great people around him, to change not just what we were doing, but change the way we were thinking. That was the key element here. This is his latest book, Confession of a Radical Industrialist. It is an extremely important book. It's his legacy. He is 75 and he's been diagnosed with cancer last January and he's fighting it. And we hope we're going to keep him for many years to come, but we know that there's going to be a challenge. So he wrote that book and it's kind of his legacy. And he's talking from a business perspective and how sustainability is an absolute must for our society, but it's the right thing to do for business too. Why is sustainability so important for businesses specifically? One thing is because of reputation. But I would argue reputation I'm calling a brand. whether Coca-Cola is a brand, FedEx is a brand, you know, the brand. But I would argue with you that all of us here have a brand. Who do we want to be? What are we projecting? Are we projecting that we want to be part of the problem, or do we want to project the image of ourselves as wanting to be part of the solutions? We have a brand. If you're creating an office, a design office, an architectural office, it's a brand. And you will want to promote that brand. And you certainly don't want to associate that brand with problem or being part of the problem. That's what happened at Walmart. Walmart was perceived to be part of the problem enormously. So Walmart wanted to make a difference, wanted to change, because it was affecting its brand. At first, that's the reasons why Walmart was getting into the green movement. Today, Walmart truly understand the reasons why and the power that they have to influence a lot of suppliers to change the way they think to supply Walmart with greener product. Now, that's the power of influence. I'm not suggesting here by any stretch of the imagination that Walmart is a super company that you know, they're there. You know, like, not at all. I'll tell you what, a lot of people like soccer, hockey maybe, basketball, football. I don't like sports. My sports was to get up in the morning and hate Walmart. That was my sport. So I had to change my views when I realized that Walmart was making a true, sincere effort. But they're not at the end of the journey, but at least they're on a journey. But, so reputation. People think that sustainability costs money. And in fact, I'm here to tell you that it's not true. Through sustainability, you could save money. And I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to prove it. I'm going to throw a number at you for our company. I can't wait, so I'll tell you right now. $405 million that Interface has saved from 1995 to the end of 2008. $405 million. And because we are on NASDAQ, we're a publicly traded company, we're on Wall Street, the number that I just gave you has been audited many times. And I wouldn't be able to just throw a number because Sarbanes-Oxley is a powerful law in the United States where it governs every report that has to do with financials. So, access to talent. If your company is value, the value of that company is aligned with the values of individuals that wants to make a difference, you will attract talent. People will want to go work for your company because there's an alignment of value. And that creates engagement from the employee. If your sole reasons to do business is to make money, you will attract people that will work for you for the money. And therefore, at one point, somebody will come in offering them more money, and they won't have any reasons to stay within your firm. They'll go where there's more money because that's the sole purpose of working, is to make money. In fact, the purpose of working is to give ourselves meaning in our lives. We want jobs that are meaningful. So when suddenly you're working with a higher purpose, it gives meaning to your job, it gives meaning to your company, and then what you create, what you work on, your field of attention is in there, and then you create something that is very powerful. And it could come from all kinds of people. A truck driver for us, lift truck driver, a person that works on the Tuster. Great ideas because they're working, they're there, but they're always saying to themselves, I'm not here to make carpet, I'm here to make a difference. How could I make a difference today? That's what it is. And you think that I'm a preacher right now, and but it's absolutely true. It is true. We live it every day. People come to our plant and they're just walking around and they're watching the people working, and sometimes they'll just interview them. And that's the feeling that they're getting out of it, is that people are not there to make carpet, they're there to make a difference. Associate engagement. Of course, that if you provide them people with a higher purpose, you're not only going to have engagement from the employees, you're going to have an emotional engagement. If I am an architect, and I am not, I don't have the talent that you have, but if I'm an architect and I have an office and I provide the people in my office to think that way and to think from here and try to create something, my customers, our customers are going to feel this. And that will make a difference in the marketplace. It may start with one customer, maybe two customers, but it's going to grow. Especially today, it would grow. So emotional engagement, not just engagement, emotional engagement is extremely important. And what that creates is innovation. Sustainability cannot exist without innovation. A different way of thinking. Look at this room. Everything in this room will be waste at one point or another. So from a design perspective, can we think about the end life of the product when we're designing the product so that we could separate the element of the product? Some element of that product could be reused, some element needs to be recycled, but why aren't we designing products today that we will be able to reuse? Because we have a mentality of trash or waste has never been in our forefront in our mind. But today it has to be. How much energy is embodied in the material in this? How much energy did it take to create that chair? The fabric, the plastic, how much chemical is in it? Those are all the sort of questions that pops in your head when your field of attention is connected. And then you ask the right questions to your supplier. From a human perspective, now I'm imagining now a 5,000, 10,000 employee company. Knowledge. Here's what it is. Within Georgia, Georgia is the capital of the carpet industry in the United States. If you buy carpet in the United States, chances, 95% chance it's made in Georgia. Our industry turnover of our employees is about 32 to 35%. At Interface, it is 5%. So when you have a turnover of 5% versus competitors at 32 to 35%, you have an edge. Why? Because you are capturing the knowledge of your employees. You have the emotion of these employees that are contributing because they want to stay working with you. And you have all their creativity. What makes them so unique? What makes them so unique and different and significant is a gift to our company. It's a gift to your company. That's how we need to see employees today. Experience and meaning. That is so powerful to get people working with you or you working for a company that gets it. If you're not working for a company that gets it, then how can you use all of what you are to change that company, that business, any types of business? What can you do? And there's a lot that you could do. You're never powerless. You have all the power to change a company. This is the book that I was telling you about. Paul Hawken, The Ecology of Commerce. And afterwards, he did The Natural Capitalism. Very good book to read. I'll give you at the end a series of books. My last slide, it's a series of books that I read that I share. And if you want it, I'll give you that slide gladly. Cal and Rick Robert. Okay, how many people here knows The Natural Step? Raise your hand. Okay. This is an assignment. Write this down. Google The Natural Step. And then you'll have several websites of The Natural Step. Cal and Rick Robert is a scientist and an MD, a doctor, MD. And the reasons why he was so captured by this idea of there's something wrong was that he was treating children and he saw a high increase of cancer on children. From this time that he started his practice to what it is today, he saw a huge increase of the amount of kids with cancer. He lives in Sweden, by the way. So he got a few scientists with him, and they have defined what was the problem, and they said the problem is environmental problem. So they said, let's define what are the conditions for a sustainable life on this planet. And there's 4 conditions. I'm not going to go through those 4 principles in details because it would take just an hour just to talk about the natural step. But I think that for you it would be a great thing to do was to Google and read about the principles of the natural step. What it did to us, it created the umbrella on everything that we want to do. We go back to the principles and we say, if we invest in this process, mechanic process, or if we change something, we need to go to those principles and make sure that we're doing the right thing. And in fact, at Interface, once we did something that we shouldn't have done. It cost us millions and millions of dollars, and it's because we were so sure that it was the right thing, and only when we did the life cycle assessment and we compared with those principles here, we realized that we were in the wrong. And I'll tell you what it was. Imagine we came up with a yarn that comes from bio-base and not petroleum. We said, how can that be wrong? We're going to use a product that is renewable, not oil, and we're going to make the yarn, we'll make the carpet with this, it's biodegradable. I mean, after pocket on a shirt, that needs to be it. And it wasn't at all. Why? Because when we looked at this and we looked at the life cycle assessment, we realized that it was taking too much energy to convert this. And that the land that we were using to grow the corn, and the corn itself was genetically modified, then when we added all that up, we said that is wrong. As much as it sounds like a great story, it is fundamentally wrong. So we cancel everything. So the natural step for us is an umbrella of guiding us on what needs to be done, or how to reflect on what needs to be done. Another thing that the natural step have given us is build a strategy for sustainability. What does that mean? It means that at one point or another, you have to put a flag in the future. Say, in 2020, this is what I'd like to be. In 2020, we're going to have a company that's going to be sustainable. So when you put a flag in the future, then what we call backcast, meaning what do I have to do this year to make sure that I'm going to be there in 2020? So that gives you a perspective. It gives you a timeline. And then that drives, and you could measure yourself against that timeline. Our timeline, that's what it is. Mission Zero, our promise to eliminate any negative impact our company may have on the environment by the year 2020. That's our flag in the future. We've had this for some years. I'm glad to report to you that we are 53% there. But we only have like 9 years to go. So what are we doing every day to make sure that we're going to get there in 2020? It's capturing our mind. It's capturing our personality, our strengths, our everything. So how can I contribute to make sure that we're going to get there in 2020? And we have defined 7 fronts. So if you're manufacturing, but I tell you what, it's not just for manufacturing. If you're a bank, if you are giving services, it's the same thing. First of all, eliminate waste. Waste in raw material, waste in energy, waste in water, waste is in everything. That's where we found money to be saved, by eliminating waste. At first, we thought there was $70 million of waste in our plant that we could eliminate and make money with it. And we've used that money to reinvest in ourselves on greener technology. That's how we did it. We saved money, reinvest the money, And when people saw us as a company that really was engaged in this and that we were really being successful with it, they wanted to invest in our company. They bought shares of the company. So zero waste, benign emission, without saying, okay? We all agree, I hope, that if it exists, it is possible, right? If something exists, that means that it's possible. Well, all our products are climate neutral. All the products that we make at Interface is climate neutral. What does that mean, climate neutral? It means that we have reduced our emission, and now we have bought some offsets. We have reduced our emission. I was in charge of, I'm still in Canada, but we had a mill in Canada. We have reduced our emission in Canada 68%. Okay? The difference between the 68 and the 100%, we had to buy offsets. That would say it's a climate neutral product. Not enough. We had to buy offsets for the chemicals, the energy, the offset, the emission of the making of the raw material. So we have bought all the offsets from the raw material up to our plant, and then we have to offset the existence of our own products, and the end life of the product means the shipping, transportations between our place and your place, and when you're shipping it back to us to recycle. So that's how we've done it, and it's audited. It's through a third party, so it's very transparent. Renewable energy. Renewable energy for us was get off electricity through coal plant, but get your electricity from windmills. In some cases, it was methane gas through landfill. We had a big project in LaGrange with the city of LaGrange to capture the methane from the landfill and change the natural gas that we're using and using methane. Closing the loop means we have to recycle. I tell you, we never thought that we would be in the recycling of carpet. We were making carpet. Never came across our mind that we at one point would have to recycle carpet. Today, we have to recycle carpet. Why? Because nobody else will do it. If you're manufacturing, you have to be responsible for the product that you are producing and the raw material that you're using to produce that material. Those, what I'm saying to you, those are questions that if you were to make a specifications to build a building and you're talking to suppliers, those are questions that you should be asking. The other thing is efficiency transportation. Well, obviously, we don't use as much truck as we used to. We use trains. And everything that we use, whether it's a car or a plane for me to come down here, it's offset. And it's not offset just by planting trees, by the way. Planting trees is a great thing, but then you have to think about what if there's a forest fire eventually. So you've got to measure a bit of how you offset your emissions and not just doing one thing. The other thing is stakeholders, it's about educating. It's about sharing. It's about, like I'm here, I'm not telling you anything here today. I'm sharing with you our experience at Interface Floor. That's all I'm doing, but I'm not telling you anything. I hope you're going to see it that way. Redesigning commerce, and I'll show you more about redesigning commerce, is how are we looking at our customer, our suppliers, and stakeholders, and how are we going to change the relationship that was there forever, but now we're changing it. One of the big things was to think overall environmental footprint versus single product attributes. It is not enough to show someone a product and one element of the product is green. So, you have to look at the whole product, the whole material that is the composition of that material. That's what we are asked to do now, is to ask questions. End users now, end users are asking more questions than architects and designers. Why? Because it's directly linked to their brand, and they want to change. They want to be seen green, so they are trying to buy stuff that are greener, and they're asking the right questions. Life cycle assessment, it is exactly what I described earlier. You have to measure all the environmental impact of the chemical that gets into your raw material. How does this work? Okay, first you need a protocol, and it's ISO. You know, ISO 2000, ISO 9001, 14000, the same organization, ISO. When we say ISO 14001, it's a certification, okay, of a process. Now we're talking about a protocol, which is not the same thing. A protocol is the way that you're going to do an analysis so that everybody will have the same methodology so that you will be able to really, truly compare a product with another product. So you need a protocol. You have the protocol, it's ISO, fine. Then what you need a database, and a reputable database that says that we use GAB-4. So if I want to know caprolactam, which is a chemical that gets into the composition of nylon, within the nylon, what is the environmental impact of caprolactam? Well, we go to that database, and now we know everything about caprolactam and the impact. How many energy does it take to create caprolactam? And what is the toxicity of that product when we're making it? What energy does it take to create it? So all these questions, does it contribute to smog? Does it contribute to global warming? What is the making of the raw material, the chemical that gets into? So imagine that we're doing this through the chemical, the raw material, our processes, our product. Why our product? Because you're going to have to clean that product. What material are you going to use to clean the product? What is the emission created by using the chemical to clean the product? What is the end life of that product? Is it recyclable? When people tell you it is recyclable, the next question you should ask is, do you recycle it? Does anybody recycle your product? For me to say it's recyclable doesn't tell me anything. I want to know whether they are really truly recycling it themselves or by a third party, but it's really recycled. So life cycle assessment, it's an evaluations of products. It's a methodology, it's a protocol. Now you have available a software. You put this in your computer, people come with you and they give you their life cycle assessment, the computer analyzes it, and if I want to buy that chair and somebody wants to sell me that chair, which are not supposed to be the same, I'm going to ask, which is the environmental impact of those chairs? That's what the end user are starting to ask. So it's not just the building, the shelf, and where that building is, and what gets into the building as well, through life cycle assessment of product that gets into the building. So for us, this is what I was explaining to you, that we take it from the raw material extraction and processing all the way through the recycling, and we don't want to have anything in landfill. The world, like California, has just passed a law that prohibit sending carpet to landfill. In Canada and Ontario, they want to pass a law, no product, no flooring product will be accepted in landfill. So we're going to have to find it. We know how to, because we have already been doing it for a couple of years. So we're okay. But here's are the factors that we're looking at. Global warming potential, climate change, embodied energy, systemic thinning of the atmosphere, creation of smog, ecotoxicity, acid rain. All these are factors that we want to measure on all of the things that I've told you. You don't need to know it all. What you need is ask your customer and say, give me your life cycle assessment, your LCA. And I see some government now that are asking their suppliers and saying, okay, I'm going to give you 3 years, but within 3 years, if you don't have a life cycle assessment for the product you want me to buy, you're not going to be able to bid the project. Simple as this. And now I tell you what, that would change the world instantly if the governments that we have around the world would say to the suppliers of products, we want your life cycle assessment. And keep in mind that a life cycle assessment, once you've done it, it gives you where you are. This is the product, this is the impact. Now the next thing is, how will you reduce the impact year over year on the product that you want me to buy? Because I want to see in 5 years from now that you've made a progress in reducing the impact. Wouldn't that make sense? But I see people that done an LCA, they don't know what to do with it. They had it, they show it, but they say, okay, how do we manage this? Because they haven't changed their ways of thinking. It's just a bunch of engineers that just went at it and measured everything, fine, and then what? This is a good example. This is a link steel case. I didn't want to use our own. We have our own. We published our life cycle assessment for some products. By the end of 2012, next year, all the product worldwide of Interface will have a life cycle assessment. Now we have about, I would say about 10%, 15% of our product that have a life cycle assessment, but we want them all. And that will bring us to cancel some products, because we know that there's some few products there that we will have to eliminate because it doesn't jive with what we need to do. So once you have it, you have an EPD, Environmental Product Declaration. That is the product that you will be able to read, because a life cycle assessment is like, really, you read that before you go to bed, trust me, you'll sleep fast, because it's a very boring document to read. And you would have to have too much knowledge to make sense of what you're reading. But that makes sense. If it has that word EPD, it means that it's been certified. Because you may create a life cycle assessment, but it needs to be audited by a third party and analyze everything that you've done to see whether it is, use an expression, kosher. That is really what it is. It is true. It's the result that I'm getting is really the results that I see on the paper. That's why it needs to be audited. Sustainability has been seen as a cost, and that's the slide I was telling you about, $405 million of saving at Interface. Now I'm going to go through, just show you that if it's a company that is in the textile, because carpet is textile, in Georgia, of all places, if it's happened in Georgia in textile, I'll tell you what, anybody could do it. It's the capital. Anyway, 175 million pounds of reclaimed products. And that is data of 2009. We have reduced 72% of our water usage worldwide. Why is it? It's because before we used to make the carpet, and on top of the carpet we would print a pattern. It takes 55 gallons of water to produce 1 square meter of carpet. We produce 23 million yards a year. Imagine the water that it takes to print. Doesn't make any sense. We canceled everything in 2005. In 1995, we canceled all the print program, and we bought tufters that could put the patterns on a product through the needle and not through chemicals. Fantastic. So, 34% reduction of greenhouse gas. This has been improved a lot in the last 2 years. This is worldwide. 44% less energy. How do we calculate energy? Everything that we calculate, and you could ask your suppliers this, how do you calculate, how do you measure your improvement? It has to be per unit of production. So how much energy does it take to produce 1 square meter of carpet is what I want to know. Whether you're making 10 million square meter or 25 million square meter a year, it's great to know, but I want to know how much energy to make 1. Because it's multiplied by 24 million, then I'll know how much energy you're spending. This is, for those who thinks that being green doesn't pay, this is our gross profit from between 2003 and 2008. This is our sales from 2002 to 2008. And a chunk of it has been attributed to the fact that people saw in us that we were trying to make an effort. If it exists, it is possible. Now this is the way, this is our warehouse. This is the way that the carpet comes to us. Broadloom like this. This is not biodegradable. This could be in landfill forever and a day or 2. You know, so we now, and we don't produce this at all. We never produce this because we make carpet tile, not broadlooms like this. But we feel that we need to recycle this. Why? Because we want the raw material of this to make our carpet, our new carpet. This is how we bring it. So we bring the product into our facility, truckloads of the carpet that you just saw, dirty, and we have device that tells us that this is polyester, this nylon 6, or whatever yarn it is, and we'll separate it, and then we'll shear the fiber. And once we have sheared the fiber, it becomes a fluff. The nylon is just a fluff. It looks like the wet cotton, you know. So then we ship that to our yarn manufacturer, and now they're reshipping us the yarn with utilizing the yarn that we shipped them. And all of the parts of the carpet needs to be in one way or another recycled. So we had to find stream, because we don't use it all. We use nylon 6, nylon 6, but we don't use polypropylene, we don't use polyester. So we had to find customers that wanted to buy that product to make their own product and have a recycled product within their product. So we're selling this. It took us 4 years to make it profitable. The first 4 years, every year, we were losing $2 to $3 million in that operation. But we said to ourselves, if we could prove that it's profitable to recycle the carpet, then we'll be able to give the technology to somebody else, and they'll be able to do this and make money with it. And that's exactly what we did in Canada. And this is the interesting thing. Our customers are becoming now our suppliers, because they're the ones who have the raw material, because they're the ones that have been using this. You see, after 10 years, they want to change their carpet. We want it back. So they're supplying us with the raw material, the old carpet. And our suppliers of yarn, now we're shaving the yarn, we're giving back the yarn, we're selling the yarn back to them, so they're becoming customers. So you see, we would have never thought that we would change the way that we negotiate with customers and vendors, and now it's all one. A supplier is a customer, and a customer is a supplier. Changes our ways of thinking. When was it? 3 weeks ago that I was here in Mexico? Yeah. I was talking to builders, and there was some builders or promoters, and they were saying, what's the cost of putting a green building? That you know right away that they're not in the right mindset. Because the real question is, what's the cost of not doing it? And then when you say that, it says, what's the cost of not doing it? And they're looking and say, well, I don't know. What's the cost of not doing it? Your customer, you're building a building for the next, I don't know, 30 years. And you try to build a building for today. But no, you wanted that building to gain value. If you are building a building today without those attributes, those green attributes, you will have a problem selling that building very soon. In 5 years from now, your building will be decreasing of value because there will be green building. And why? Because the big companies want to move into buildings that are green. They're asking for it. So now you can't not choose not to. Because otherwise, when you're going to want to sell that, and the people who lease that building, they know that their cost of operations will be less if it's a green building than if it's a brown building. So how can somebody who's building for the next 30 years would not take into consideration building a green building? It's beyond me. They have the assumption that a green building is more costly. We had Turner Constructions from New York, and we had the sustainability, one of the sustainability team from New York City, and they are saying out loud, in New York, a green building doesn't cost more than a brown building. The cost. That's a significant statement to make. So if it is, then you have to really team up with all your suppliers and make this happen. But it could happen. It's possible. Very, very possible. It happened. Most new buildings in the United States now have some certification of green. The buildings from governments has to be green. Certified LEED, either it is gold or silver or platinum. Let's go back to you being in business. If you have it here and your customers are feeling that thing, that you're true in what you're saying, that sustainability is an issue for you and you want to move forward and you want to be part of the solutions, you're creating mind share. I'm giving that example of Apple. Apple has mind share enormously. For people to have their hair cut like that or tattoo their arms, I mean, it takes pretty strong mind share. Well, the thing is that you could create, a small architectural firm could create such mind share that businesses comes to them because they give a lot of time in explaining why they're green, why the industry and building needs to be green, and they're making, and one company, it's not a small company, but it's HOK in Toronto, small office for HOK, but they said they're going to be green. That's it. They said that probably 8 years ago. Well, most people that are looking for a green building in Toronto go see HOK because they are known to be the ones that has the more knowledge about green building. They have the mind share. So the challenge is not about changing our ways of doing it, it's changing our ways of thinking. So how do you get to change the way you think is the next question. Were you about to ask me that question? It would have been a good question. So it takes courage to change before the need to change. So we have to look at ourselves and say, how courageous am I in wanting to challenge what I believe today and change that? That's pretty strong. It is pretty strong, and it's quite a process. But as soon as you ask yourself the questions, because I'll tell you what, and I'm not the one who said it first, but it's not what we don't know that creates a problem. Is what we know to be true that isn't true. Think of it that way. So it's not what we don't know. It's what we know to be absolutely true, and it's not true. It's not true for what it needs to be in the future. So it takes courage to change. And what we're trying to get here is the essence of the fundamental change. Oh, okay, see the problem here. It's to stop focusing on the parts and look at it from the whole. Do you remember, how many of you went through a class and had to dissect a little frog? I did it. 8 years old, I was in a class and a teacher asked us to put a frog in a jar. We killed the frog, put the frog on the table, we dissect the frog. And my point is this, is we have been trained to look at the infinite details of things, the parts. But nobody has told me what this whole thing, how it works. How does the holistic view, how does the frog works? I know that this is the heart, and this is this, and this is that, but how does it all work together? And that's one of the issues in changing our ways of thinking, is looking holistically about not just products, but also processes, and all of what touches building humans. Humans are the center of everything that we are having to think when we're now designing. Why? And that's a great slide. I love that slide. Why? Because the fundamental change occurs when we learn to see from the whole. And the whole is over here. It's not here. I know that in a board meeting on Wall Street, this slide would not get a lot of applaud because they don't believe in it. They only believe in money. But the fact is, that's how people work. That's what gets people to work. That's the glue. So I'm going to talk to you about a process, by the way, when you are leaving yourselves open. How much space are you leaving when you're thinking? How much space are you leaving yourself in your ways of thinking for growth? Or you think that what you think is absolute. So the more that we leave ourselves with space to grow in what we think and what we believe helps us. So the less we pack, the more awaits us. Because, okay, our brain are like parachutes. They work better when they're open. I have a slide that shows that, but I showed that. I think we're going to have the time. This is an experience. I was trying to demonstrate what is it? How could you put your mind in suspension? How is it that you could look at something and then suddenly what you're looking at, a project or anything, when you're looking at it from a totally different perspective. How do you achieve that? So, you see these words? These words about the game. I'm going to show you a video clip. It's a movie called Bagger Vance. Will Smith is in there. Matt Damon is in there. A couple of big stars. It's a film. It's about a guy that plays golf. He was a young guy. He was very successful at golf. He went to war because the movie is right after 1945. He came back and he's a drunk. He lost his swing. He lost everything, and he's a drunk. And there's a big tournament in his city, and they're looking for one golfer to represent the city within their own city, and there's only 2 other golfers in the movie. And Will Smith is like an angel. He's talking to him, and the guy's trying to play, and he plays terrible. It's the second day of the tournament, and he plays terrible. And this guy, Will Smith, is talking to him, and he says, "You're just not getting it." So, and they talk about the game. As it opens up, you'll see. He's talking about the game. When he says the game, what it means is, and he says it's the greatest game on earth. You and you're just by yourself. What he means by that is, it's life. You're all by yourself. That's number one. Number 2 is the field. He talks about the field. And you'll see Will Smith challenging him. Do you see the field? And he'll say, of course I see the field. The field is 350 yards in front of me. The flag, is right in front of me, 400 yards in front of me. And he doesn't understand that what he sees is not what he should be seeing. Because he's still grounded and he can't see what he needs to see. The focus, you'll see what it means. Authentic swing. When he's going to say, Will Smith, authentic swing, it means all the strengths that you have that makes what you are. Okay, so I'm going to go with that video clip. You have to really concentrate on what Will Smith says, because he has a southern accent in this movie, and he doesn't speak very loud. So everybody's there.
Ah, sí. Es el mejor juego que existe. ¿Verdad, Harvey?
Sí, señor.
Y el mejor juego de todos los tiempos.
Es uno y la bola.
En completa soledad.
Oye,
Creo que ya es hora
¿hora de qué?
de que usted vea el campo.
¿El campo? Yo veo el campo. Tiene como 440 yardas de largo. Hay una pequeña bandera roja en el límite y está 12 jugadas adelante de mí.
I think you're better off
No es
watching
eso.
it there, yeah.
Si usted viera el campo, no estaría machacando esa pelota como si cortara maleza del jardín de su casa.
Ya dame ese palo.
Perdón por decírselo, siga cortando la maleza.
Now he's got to come back. He's going to ask, okay.
De acuerdo, ¿qué es el campo?
Fije su mirada en Bobby Jones.
Bobby Jones was a great golfer in around that time, 1945. He was from, and he looks at him and he says, focus on this guy. Look at him. Look how he focused. So listen to Will Smith. Now picture you in front of a project
Mira
that you
cómo
need to
practica
realize,
Casi como si buscara algo.
searching for something.
Luego lo encuentra. Y trata de tomar posición justo en el medio. Siente ese enfoque. Y tiene muchos tiros entre los que puede elegir. Globos, topeados, hooks. Pero hay un solo tiro que está en perfecta armonía con el campo.
Perfect harmony with the
Un
field,
golpe
a
que
shot.
es su auténtico tiro. Y ese tiro va a elegirlo a él. Hay un golpe perfecto que por allí anda tratando de encontrar a cada uno de nosotros. Solo no debemos estorbarlo. Hay que dejar que él nos elija. Míralo. Está en el campo. Puedes ver esa bandera, ese dragón que tendrás que matar. Pero si miras con ojos soñadores, verás el lugar en el que las mareas y las estaciones y el giro de la tierra finalmente se reúnen. Y todo lo que existe se convierte en uno. Y debes ver ese lugar
Becomes one.
con los ojos del alma, Joyce. Solo con los ojos del alma.
Now he's going to play Sistan.
Búscalo con tus manos, pero no pienses en ello. Siéntelo. Tus manos son más lúcidas que tu mente. Pero yo no puedo llevarte ahí. Solo espero poder ayudarte a encontrar el camino. Estás tú. La bola. Esa bandera. Y todo lo que es. Solo siente. Estás viendo al que se perfecta el mundo. Estás tú y la bola. Ese lugar de tu auténtico impulso. Esa bandera. Y todo lo que eres.
All of what you are. All right, needless to say, and if we adopt that with a profound wanting to make a difference from a sustainability perspective of putting all of what your project, from that perspective, sustainability, you'll be creating stuff. Things will come to you that you would have never thought about before. It'll come to you as his swing came to him. Okay, and that's the slide. Mines are like parachute, they only work when they're open. It is so true. Another big thing for me, we will never get to sustainable living without the partnership of women. And that is so important. Let's face it, guys, if we are where we are, it's because we took control about 2,000 years ago and we ruled that thing. It's our rules. And today, we will not get to where we need to be without the help of women, the wisdom of women. And when I say that, I'm not talking about Margaret Thatcher, who was a man disguised as a woman. I'm talking about a real woman. And if we have the women who, by the way, give birth, and that's the reasons why we call the earth Mother Earth, Mother Earth, because women gives life. And you're connected in a way that men cannot be connected. And therefore, we need you to be equal partner around the table and bring those solutions and an attitude and a way of thinking that we guys have not been good at in the last 2,000 years. And there's a book, at the end of this you'll see a book, it's called Urgent Message from Mother. I'm inviting you to read, all of you, this book, as a man or as a woman. But you'll see how it happened that women lost their place. We used to have woman as God, goddess. Well, we made sure that in the last 2,000 years to eliminate all this. So, very important. So I'm asking this, how to change paradigm shift for inclusion, ideas for all humans, all species, and all generations. I asked a friend of mine, says, could you help me? Could you help me think differently? How do I start? Where do I start? So he said to me, he says, okay, Claude, you travel a lot. Whether you travel or not, doesn't matter. So you, tomorrow, or this afternoon, tonight, you're going to see, you're going to watch people, and you're going to focus on a person that doesn't look anything like you. Okay? So I thought, for this exercise, I picked that guy. I didn't think that he looked anything like me from different perspective. But here's the exercise that I'm going to ask you to do. Look at this guy and ask yourself, what's in him that's in you? And what's in you that's in him? And the more you focus on it, the more you ask the question, the more that you put, and the more you're asking that question, and the more you find out what you need to find out. Because sustainability is all about humans. It's all about how we're going to see each other. So you see, I'm here, I could talk to you about buildings, I could talk to you about carpet, life cycle assessment, all of that. But if we don't get that, we're missing the boat. So what's in him that's in me, and what's in me that's in him? As soon as you ask yourself that question, and I'm just right now inflicting you with like a virus. Why? Because if you ask yourself that, you've already started to change the way you think. And it's the same for this woman. She's absolutely beautiful. She knows about life. And I ask myself, what's in her that's in me? And what's in me that's in her? It's absolutely fantastic when you start thinking about it. Did you ever thought of this? If you were to take a child, 1 week old, and you start training that child to express love the way you express anger, and you train that child to express anger the way you express love, you would never be successful. Because love is part of what we are as human beings, and we all express love in the same way. And it's the same for joy, it's the same. So the more you ask yourself that question, the more you change the way you think. And you could ask yourself that question, the same question about these two birds. What's in them that's in me? And what's in me that's in them? From a DNA perspective, there's very little difference between these birds and me. Very little from a DNA perspective. So the more I'm asking my question, then the more I have respect for what they are and where they live and everything else. Essence. What is the essence? You know that chair? Do you recognize that chair? This is a Van Gogh, the chair, painting. The chair itself is worth about $20 if you want to buy it, but the painting is $24 million. Why? Because Van Gogh has been able to capture the essence of the chair. Maybe there was a grandmother or a grandfather that was knitting a sweater or something for a grandchild, or telling a story about the family on that chair. And that's what he captured on the chair, and that's why it's $23 million. Why am I making that point? What is the essence of your organization? If you're working, what is the essence of it? Because it's going to change everything. What is the essence of who you are? And I know I sound like a preacher, but I'll tell you, it'll help you when you're going to get into the field and making decisions. You are going to use this, and you're going to be very successful in turning something brown into green. So a lot of people looks at interface and say the essence of interface is the fact that we have cool carpet. The cool carpet is the fact that we're producing product that are climate neutral. Okay. Or maybe it's because the essence of interface is the recycling thing. Or the essence of interface is because we have LCA and we have EPDs and we publish it, which is a great transparency. Or maybe it's our product, because a lot of designers likes our product because of the design of the product. It's funky, it's joyful, it's playful, it has some attributes. But the real reasons why the essence of interface are these. It's our collective purpose. We decided, 5,000 people, we decided with Ray Anderson that we would make a difference. So it's our collective purpose. It's our determination to be part of the solution. And it's in our ways of thinking. And it is our emotional engagement. And it's in working to make a difference. And it's in the way that we feel, and it's the way that we act. Once you have that, as an architect, as a designer, as an engineer, as whatever you are, you're going to make a huge difference. You have enormous power when you get that. Einstein said, not everything that can be counted count, and not everything that can be counted. Okay? And it's so true, and I'll tell you why. We're putting so much effort in you architects. We're putting so much effort as a manufacturer. We're putting so much effort on product. Now we're rethinking, and say we need to put the same energy on people and creating environment that encourage collaborations, the growth of individuals. That's what the big companies in the United States are looking for when they're looking at design today, interior design. When people see what you are, the company that you are, they see this. But if they feel your culture, which is this, you'll be very successful. But you have to ask yourself the question, what will they see? What will they feel about who your organization is? More and more big customers now are asking those questions. They're not asking the questions, who are you? They're trying to figure out what you stand for. And once they have an understanding of where you are, it is extremely powerful. I'm going to go quickly on that. I asked that question. I asked people, close your eyes and think of nature. All right? Close your eyes and think of nature. Okay. Now, most people, when I ask those questions, think about nature. They think about a beach, they think about a mountain, a lake. But I don't remember that one person told me, I am nature. I saw myself. Because you know what? We think that nature starts on the other side of our skin. We don't see ourselves in it. We are part of nature in all the way. I said this one, I said, there's not an inch in your body that is not nature. And there's a woman at the back of the side and they raised her hand and said, I'm sorry, Claude, but I have some silicone that is not exactly part of nature. But all your, you know what I'm saying? Our body is all nature. Once we understand that, we could move. So biomimicry is another way of thinking about nature and finding solutions through nature, finding solutions in buildings, in everything that we do. Whether it is manufacturing, management, whatever. Nature has ways to manage everything and grow. Very resilient in time. And I'm going to let Janine Benes introduce you to biomimicry. Janine Benes is this biologist that wrote the book called Biomimicry.
We're the only species that digs up the Earth's crust and then turns it into toxic waste. How are other organisms meeting their needs? And has anyone ever thought of asking them for advice? In a book I wrote called Biomimicry, I met people who are doing just that. Biomimicry is the process of learning from and then emulating life's genius. After 3.8 billion years, Life knows what works and what lasts here on Earth. Mimicking these designs and strategies, their recipes, could change the way we grow food, harness solar energy, run our businesses, even the way we make materials. There is a hunger for us to be reconnected and for us to remember how to ask nature for help. My sense is that as biological beings, if we were to admit to ourselves that on this earth we have a certain set of opportunities and a certain set of limits, that the earth is abundant and resilient, but that she is not endlessly abundant and she is not endlessly resilient. And instead of bemoaning that fact and trying to push through those limits or overshoot what's given to us, that we learn to do what the other creatures have done, which is to dance within them and to become really, really creative about that. What biomimicry allows us to do is to fit in here, to come home.
So for 4 years, I would spend 3 days with Janine. With architects, we would go in Vermont, and we would ask the architects, okay, give us a problem. Give us a problem that you have. And we'll look at nature and see how nature addressed that problem. That was a fascinating exercise. And she, through this whole process, was teaching us that everything in nature has a purpose. Everything. To the point where she asked me, what is the purpose of the design of that leaf on the right end? And this one here, it's the hoke. And I didn't know. She says, what is the purpose of the design of the leaf? Don't know. Okay, so she said, here's what it is. The leaf is designed in such a way that it allows the sunlight to come through, because the oak tree is so tall that it allows the sunlight to penetrate the tree and give sunlight to other species of trees that needs that sunlight but not direct sunlight. Wow. So it tells me right there that nature rewards cooperations more than it rewards competition. And that's a thing that we think that is true, and it's not true. We think that nature is all about competition, and it's absolutely not true. So cooperation is much more a winning strategy than competition. So every texture, every design, and every color has a purpose. We hired her, and the question was, how does nature address a floor? We're making carpet, that's a floor. How does nature address a floor? Interesting question. With the answer that we found with her, we've changed the entire design process of our product. We've made a ton of money. We created a differential in the marketplace. And every competitors that we have tried to copy us. And here's what it is. You see these? They all look alike, but they're not the same. We were making carpet tile that looked exactly like broadloom. Every tile needed to be religiously the same. And she was telling us that we were in total wrong. Why? Because in nature there is no such thing as a beautiful beige surface in the forest. Beige as a solid color does not exist. There's always a diversity of colors and forms and shape. So she was telling us that, and today we have created products where every tile is different from one tile to the next, which was totally opposite of what we were doing before. And from three perspectives: color, pattern, and texture. What is the benefit of it? The benefit of it is that in 3 years from now, if you go to that place where you've installed that carpet and you remove one tile and you put a new tile in, your eyes are not going to pick the difference between the new tile or the old tile, because from the get-go they're not the same. Do you see the advantage? From a financial perspective, we were making carpet, let's say you're asking me 500 square meter. Great. And I have to produce 525 meter to make sure that I have the 500 meter that you want. That 25 meters that's left was waste, unwanted inventory. Now we could take that 25 yards and ship it with the next order because there is no more die lots, because we eliminated all the die lots through this design process. We've patented it, and other people could use it, providing that they give us a royalty. But it's because it cost us about $3 million just to change everything for us. But the fact is, we've created such a differential for our company, and this is just one installation of one product, but there's many, many, many products that are in. And we're sending our employees to courses of biomimicry in Costa Rica with her and others to learn more about what we could learn about nature that would change our company so that we could innovate. Now, this is an architect called Michael Pierce, and I don't know if you know Michael. Michael Pierce is an architect in Zimbabwe, Africa. I think he lives in Australia today. But he had a contract to build a building, and he had it right here. Sustainability for him was like part of him, right? So he had to build a huge building, and he asked, okay, I'm going to see who lives there. And now you think that he's talking about people. He wasn't talking about people. Who lives there? Creatures. Okay. And he looked at the termites, and he found that the termites, in the termite mounds, it needs to be at 23 degrees Celsius at all time. But during the day, outside that termite mounds, it's 35 Celsius. And at night, it's 15 Celsius. How do they keep the temperature inside the termite mounds at 23, day and night? There's no heating system, there's no air conditioning. How do they do it? So he dissected, and he realized that the air comes from the side, it brought into the earth, and it's expelled by a chimney in the center. So he built a building. You see the chimney over here? And this here is the side air take. That's in Zimbabwe. It's 35 degrees Celsius during the day, and it's cool at night, but inside that building, it's always 23 degrees Celsius. They don't have to pay for the energy of air conditioning, heating system, ducts, material to create, none of that. And yet they have a beautiful building. That's why, so biomimicry is about not learning just, but observing nature and learning from it, not just copying it. So, do you know what that is? That's a kitchen in the United States. It's a kitchen of one individual, a couple, okay? They have all that equipment, all of this. And you know, see, here, this is takeout food. Because they have this huge kitchen, but they never cook. So they have this huge kitchens because when people go to their house, they say, have you seen my kitchen? Let me take you into my kitchen. I have sub-zero stuff here and there. It's not beautiful. I got it. So this is, if we want to go to sustainability, we'll have to let go defining the essence of what we are through the stuff we own, specifically in the States. So, guys that drives these cars, it's a nice car, an object, art really, it's art, really. But the guy who drives that, or woman that drives that, what is he saying, or what is she saying to me? What is that guy saying to me? He's saying to me, he's got it and I don't. You know, he goes around and this thing costs a fortune to roll, and insurance, everything. There's potholes that big in the street. Can you go 100 miles per hour with that thing in the streets of Mexico? I don't think so. Or Montreal for that matter. But he's got it. Because he's trying to project the essence of what he is through what he has. And that's a fundamental flaw in our way of thinking. It's the same for this. These are shoes and handbag. You see, you ask yourself the question, now that's the question, does woman buy shoes and handbag that matches the shoes to seduce? Because if it is, if you think it is to seduce women, I would say to you, us guys, we don't care. We don't care about your shoes one bit. So if you're buying shoes to seduce and it's not really, so it's not really the reason, so then why? And it's not bad to have the shoes and the matching bag. That's not my point. My point is that we have to think about, are we trying to project the essence of what we are through stuff? That's all. But it's nice to have nice shoes, and it's nice to have the matching bags with the shoes. I'll agree, it's nice. So, I'm going to leave you with this video clip. And the video clip is called, Why Are We Here?
It is perhaps the most important question we have ever asked. And possibly the most difficult to answer. Trees, as we know, produce oxygen. Birds and insects pollinate the plants that feed us. We know that some animals need plants to survive, and some animals need animals. But why are we here? Giant whales couldn't survive without tiny plankton. Giant redwoods couldn't survive without insects. But could life on this planet survive without us? What is our purpose? Why are we here? Maybe it's because of all the species that share this world. We're the only one with the power to protect the entire planet. The only one with the power to protect every species on Earth, including ourselves. Every species is here for a purpose, and each of us has a part to play.
So, if I had a dream, and I'm the only one who dreams that dream, it's going to be just a dream. But if 5,000 people dream of the same thing, it's the beginning of a new reality. That's what we found when we started in 1994, our journey on to become sustainable. So, and today we're getting there. We're 53% there, and we hope we're going to be there in 2020. These are the books that I have read and recommend because they have different attributes. The book that I was telling you about women is on the top corner, right corner. This one here, Urgent Message from Mother. Mega Trend is extremely interesting because it gives you a sense of what the big companies are looking to retain their talent and how to cope with the people that come in that are very different from the people. Because on the same space now you have people that are 60 years old, 40 years old, 20 years old, and the gap between just the technology, knowledge, and acceptance is huge. So companies now are trying to hold on to their older employees, bring new employees, younger employees at the same time, and they're trying to create an environment in which these people could interact and profit the whole process of the company. So they're talking about that. Ishmael is a classic. I don't know if you've read it, but Ishmael, it was a cult book in the 90s, and it's about a gorilla that it's called Ishmael, and it's Ishmael who has the ability to talk to one man, and that one man has the ability to talk to Ishmael. There's some parties, people like you get together one night, they have a dinner, a glass of wine, and they have in the middle of the table all sorts of issues. And you pick one issue, but the thing is, you have to answer from the perspective that you're the daughter of Ishmael or you're the son of Ishmael. How would you address the issue that's on the table? You need to nearly get outside of your body to think that I'm the son of Ishmael and how would I answer that issue? So it's very interesting. So Fridtjof Capra, The Web of Life is nearly a must. Biomimicry, Janine Benes. Finding Our Way and Leadership and a New Science. It's a Margaret Whitley, very interesting. The Ecology of Commerce. There's many, many, many more, but the Power versus Force, also a very interesting book. The slide will stay here, so if you want to have those books afterwards, I'll leave it here. So that concludes this presentation. As you see, I gave you some information, but before we get into, I guess, in your course of adding a lot of knowledge, once your mindset is to change the way you think, I think that you're going to be prepared for the course that you're taking. Now, it's time for questions. And I know that it's a tough time for a lot of people because people are shy and they raise their hand, and it takes the first one. So we have to agree, all of us, to say that this room is like Vegas. Whatever happens here stays here. So there is no bad questions. We just want to answer. So it's a dialogue. That's what it needs to be. Just a dialogue on what you've seen, what you've heard, and how to move forward. So who's going to be the first brave individual that's going to raise his arm and ask a question? Yes? If you want to do it in Spanish, I got a Marco, could you come over here and then if you want to ask the question in Spanish, he'll translate it for me and I'll give you the answer. Would that make you feel better?
La pregunta es sobre todos los productos de diseño que existen en este momento casi no están pensando en este sentido, y yo estoy tratando de empezar a buscar cuáles son esos diseños que pueden tener mejor impacto en los consumidores. Me gustaría que me platicara un poquito de la experiencia de él, cómo hizo ese proceso en su empresa para que los consumidores empezaran a ver esos productos como valiosos.
¿Quieres saber acerca de nuestros productos? ¿Cómo fue la transformación de un producto normal a un producto reciclado?
¿Cómo la gente, sus consumidores lo fueron apreciando cada vez más?
How did our consumers has adopted our products from the regular product
The recycled product. So the question, if I read
how does our customer have adopted the recycled product that we have versus the virgin material product that we had before? Very well, actually, because we're demonstrating to them through testing that the product from recycled yarn performed just as good as the product from virgin material. And we demonstrate that through rigorous tests. And we sign products sometimes, and we give them a warranty of 15 years. And we sign product, and we say, this will look like this in 10 years. This is your product, your color, and this is what it's going to look like in 10 years if you apply some maintenance to it. And we guide them to the maintenance that needs to take place. But I have not heard one customer resisting buying a recycled product. Not one. Did I answer your question? Yeah? Thank you.
Hi. You mentioned that cooperation is more valuable than competition. And I remember a conference in Urban Land Institute when you focus on that you're facing with this is to develop the technology to recycle,
yeah,
and share,
yeah,
and so to other company and make your competitors,
yes,
available to that. So I want you to be more
talk about this
specific about this.
Okay, we in Canada we decided that we would give the technology to everybody, so that everybody that makes carpet tile would be able to claim that they're recycling carpet, because we recycled their carpet. So we talked to an organization that is independent. We are giving them the know-how. We're giving them the technology. And now they're equipped, and we tell them how to do this to be profitable. But now they're recycling carpet from other company. So other company could say that they're recycling, which is, and when you have something like that, you can't hold on to it as to say, that's mine, and you're on your own, I recycle the carpet, you're on your own. It's an industry, and it's an environmental issue that we need to cooperate with each other. What the benefit that we have out of this is because we're the only one that could transform the yarn into yarn. So when they recycle, we get the raw material that is coming out of the recycling process. So we are getting a benefit from it. They're not interested in it because they don't have that process, but we do. So they say we recycle carpet, but not back into the carpet. But we say we recycle carpet back into our carpet. That's the difference between the two statements. But they are definitely being able to say that they are responsible and they're recycling their product. And that's the way we see things in the future. That technology and things cannot be one, but it needs to be shared. How are you going to share it? That's a departure. That's a different way of thinking. But by just our customers in Canada that knows that we're doing that are saying, once again, you're showing leadership, and we appreciate the fact that you're sharing the technology. What's that creating? It's creating mind share, which eventually will give us market share. So you see that there's always, you could do whatever you want to do, you could always use this and better yourself, better the industry, and better your customer. Any other questions? We're trying, for the past more than 4 years now, we got to be 5, 6, that we recycled it, but we lost so much money on it that we couldn't pass it on to somebody that says, you're so lucky, you're going to lose a ton of money trying to do this. So we had to prove ourselves that this would be profitable. Now that we are, now we're starting. In the United States, we're starting. We talked to somebody in Mexico to do that. And he was interested, and he was talking to the government to get a grant to start this, and he lost interest. I don't know why. But we're going to find another one. Brazil, Mexico are the two spots really that we would like to start this. The issue with Brazil is that they have a culture of bad, like a cheap carpet, call it this. So there's not much to recycle. And so we're looking at a different way of doing this, but we would like to have our product, at least our product, because we recycle the entirety of our product. The backing into the backing, the yarn into yarn. So that's an interest for us. So we'll definitely recycle our product. But the carpet that's there, we're going to help them find all of what it needs to recycle, but they're going to have to introduce that product into their own product, because we don't use polypropylene, for instance, in our product. They use a lot of it. Yes? Yeah? Yes, you do. Mm-hmm. Sure. Actually, you have a person in Mexico who has a PhD in life cycle assessment. She lives in Mexico. She has been trained in the States, and she's a fantastic individual. So there is universities that are now getting into, there's university around the world. I mean, in the United States, in Europe, in Canada, there's university who have a chair on life cycle assessment. And there's company now that helps organizations to create their life cycle assessment. Because a lot of companies, most companies don't have the expertise internally to do that, so they outsource this, but they learn a lot through it. And it helps these people that are normally PhD or very specialized in LCA. They offer their service, they charge, but there's a return on this. It's a good money to spend. But you could have some of it here in Mexico, I'm sure. Yes.
Have you ever thought about recycling some other materials from some other industries apart from the ones that you are?
What we're trying to do is the people that we're dealing with, that we would like them to start in recycling carpet, they would be able to use these equipments or use their facility. Okay, this is the part where we're recycling carpet. This is the part where we're going to recycle plastics, all types of plastics. And because there's so different types of plastics, there's some that are better than others. Some have high emissions, VOCs, like the liner of pool liner, high VOCs. So you have to find somebody that is willing to starts with carpet, but they could go into all kinds of different fields. And I tell you, they're going to make money. You know who's the one now who's trying to grab all the plastic in the Americas? China. China is trying to grab everything they can on either chemical or the plastic, because they're going to recycle the plastic and they're going to reship it back to us and we're going to buy it, you know. So they're really into this. But we're putting contracts because we really want to have that yarn and that bagging. It's ours. We have full-time staff that call on general contractor, you're building or you're refurbishing, you have carpet in there and it's carpet tile. We'd like to have it back. Yes?
Why exactly did you choose 2020? I mean, what's there? It was not an arbitrary number.
True. What we've looked at is we looked at technology and we said, okay, what's the growth of technology? What existed in 1994 was very little. So we didn't say 2020 in 94. We waited. But in 1998, 99, we were sure now that in 2020, the technology would be there. We had, on the yarn, on the face of the product, we had yarn, and we were looking at natural, biodegradable, and we know that it'll be a blend of recycled plastics, if you want, polymer, and probably natural yarn as well, to make sure that it's 100%, but renewable. So we said, okay, by 2020, there'll be enough technology. First, we looked at energy. Energy would be there. Not everywhere in the world, but probably we could find something on energy. A raw material, we know we could get the raw material. Not everywhere, but the biggest problem is our own impact. We built the building. There's an impact on the building. You can't be zero on the building. You could be zero on the product, but now we're trying to get, okay. So we looked at it and say, from a product perspective, we could be there in 2020. From a building and process perspective, then that will probably not extend 2020, but we're going to have to look at doing it differently than what we're doing today. We're trying not to build buildings. If we do build building, we're building a plant in Shanghai, and it's a green building. It's a green manufacturing building. So, but by doing that, we learn a lot. And the more we learn, we just learned this, but with 5,000 people that are knows all about it, then it multiplies. So the next one will be greener. But this one is a certified LEED building. So we're addressing the building, we're addressing the product and the process, and we think that by 2020, we'll be there for product. I think that's a good bet. Yeah. If the product is cheaper than what?
Your product is cheaper than your material. Is it cheaper?
No. 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 Yeah, marketing. Yeah. When you're, okay, if we want to talk about green marketing, here's the rule number one of green marketing. Transparency, authenticity, and audited. Whatever you claim needs to be audited, auditable. It needs to be showing that you're totally transparent. A life cycle assessment will do that. And you have to be genuine. You don't say, we don't claim that we're there, but we're claiming that we're working hard to be there. And we've put a date, 2020. So it is big for us, because the moment you say 2020, there's a bunch of people that are looking at you. Interface floor, we're like an aquarium. Everybody's watching what we're doing. Everything. So we don't make statements just like that. So we think we're going to be there in 2020, the products and the process. Did I answer your question? Yep. From a cheap perspective, okay, listen, this is the way I feel about it. You could have a cheap product and you could win a rat race, but you're still a rat. We don't want to be there. We want it because if you have a cheap product, you'll have to replace that product in 6 years from now, at best 6 years. We're saying to customers, this is an asset and it could last 15 years if you maintain it. But if you spend the money to maintain that product, You will save money because the inflation's on the product in 6 years from now and another 6 years from now. You're spending a heck of a lot more money in replacing that product instead of maintaining the product on 12, 15 years. So we're showing them from a pure financial perspective that it is worthwhile for them to buy quality from the get-go. So we're not in the cheap. But then again, we bid projects.
So I think this question goes more into that we could get cheaper because oil is going up.
Yes, we are cheaper. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Imagine that our competitors have not reduced their energy costs. We've reduced it, let's say 43%, which was higher than this, but let's say 43%. So we're paying less energy in the cost of the product. They have to pay it. So they're more expensive than we are. But that doesn't mean to say that our product is cheaper because we use better material than they use. So they compensate. So it's a game there. But yes, we are very, from a process perspective, we're cheaper. And the recycling, we were spending a lot more money, but now we're winning. No, it's more expensive because it's better quality, not because it's green. We could make a product green cheap. But there's a line there where you say, well, if it's cheap but it doesn't last, we want to make it last. But it's a very interesting question, the question he's asking, because we're asking ourselves that question, should it last 15 years? Should we dematerialize the product and recycle it and put it all like this? How long does people stay within their facility? So we're now asking ourselves that questions. How can we dismantle the product, recycle it, and it may not have to be 15 years. So we're challenging ourselves on that question. But it always needs to be a quality so that it could be recycled, because if it's too cheap, it cannot be recycled. That's the game. Yes?
Tanto, bueno, coincidir que la sustentabilidad no es una marca, pero tampoco creo que sea una categoría moral superior, porque eso en todo caso tendría que ver con el acceso diferenciado a información y tal cosa. Hay incluso... ¿Otra vez? Sí, bueno, que coincidía en tu parte de desarrollo conceptual en que la sostenibilidad no es una marca, ¿no? Pero tampoco creo que sea una categoría moral superior, en tanto eso con el acceso diferenciado a la información de una sociedad pues, compleja y desigual y tal cosa. Hay quien estudia incluso los temas de sustentabilidad desde mucho antes que este boom que se da en los 50 del año pasado, ¿no? Como paradigmas emergentes y pues preocupaciones de la posmodernidad, como cuando la civilización desde su fanatismo antropocéntrico empieza a ser como un desastre y tal, ¿no? Tampoco coincido tanto con la idea del poder, porque justamente me refiere y me remite a esa parte que pues me parece que parte del mismo error de sistema.
Yes.
La cuestión del poder que comentas, ¿en base a qué?
Es que un poco se planteaba, bueno, el tema de la práctica es como el poder de uno para poder cambiar, para poder, ¿no? Entonces, ¿desde qué punto esta parte como frenética antropocentrista sigue pensando que tenemos ese poder? En lugar justamente de, como después se desarrolló en la exposición, ser parte de un sistema y entender que somos como un todo, ¿no?
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's not an engineering process that's going to change the world. It's people that are going to change the process and change the world. Nothing will ever happen without the will of people wanting to change. And we need a critical mass. Okay? If you get about 20% of the populations wanting and believing and wanting to do this, it'll happen. It will happen. It's just mathematics, it will happen. And here's another one. Look at it this way. There's hundreds of millions of people today that are acting up on the subject of sustainability. But it's the first time in our whole history that there is no chief in front. There is nobody in front of the movement of sustainability and says, follow me. It's organic growth. And now I would get into a deep answers, and I'm not sure that people want to hear it, but here's what it is. Do you know the theory of the whole? The theory of the whole, which is the parts are part of the whole, and the whole is in every part. As human beings, we act like one. Your immune system, and it's Paul Hawken that says that in his book, Rest on Rest. Your immune system works because of the quality of the relationship of all the cells in your immune system, and it's sensing what is wrong, and it acts on it. Human being now, as one, are sensing that there's something wrong. And more and more and more people are now sensing and wanting and realizing that it needs to change. They don't know exactly how, but what we're saying is, look at what you do and who you are. And if you have it here, you'll make that change, and it will connect with everybody, with everything else, and we'll act as one. Not to say 100% as one. There'll be people that will resist that. Fox News in the United States, there's a propaganda for the opposite of that. But we're hoping that eventually people will get it. Will tune to another TV station. Go ahead.
I have two questions that are
Yes.
connected. How much of the profit comes from individual buyers, let's say a homeowner, and how much of the profit relies on big builders that take the decisions of buying huge amounts of property? And if your aim is to make an influence on the big decision takers of these big firms, or to permeate the whole, like making the whole kind of make it an obligation to be green.
We don't have a residential product. We have it in the States. It's a web-based product, meaning it's only sold through the web. Now we're starting some little stores for residential, but that's not, the income is not coming from there. The income is worldwide. Interface we have planned in China, Shanghai, in Thailand, Australia, United States, a little plan in Uruguay, Holland, England. And it's all for commercial applications. But commercial application, it's offices, it's university, it's healthcare, it's retail. There's a lot of segments in which we work in. And we've been at it now for 35 years. And very successfully. Very successfully. Yes?
A rule about the sustainability is the regional development. No? So which is the regional economic development, the interface in Mexico? No in sales to the corporation, sino bueno, in the development of the people, to the people, Mexico.
Well, me being here is part of it.
That's a social thing. I don't charge to do this speech, to share the story or the knowledge, but that's part of it. What we're trying to, with our own employees, first of all, We just had a meeting, actually, they're still in a meeting, trying to bring our own employees to be engaged. We have an expression, drink the Kool-Aid. And once they're there, then they influence by just talking to their customer, they're either an end user or an architect firms, get them to think a little differently and then move on like this. It's one way. We have in Brazil, we have an institute in Brazil where money that goes into that, like I don't charge here, but in some cases people pay for me to go speak to them. That money goes to a fund. That fund is distributed to the regions. That region decides what they're going to do with it. It is social, like in Brazil, it's a big issue, is education, so it goes to education. In Canada, it also goes to education. If we're going to give an amount of money, it has to be for education of children, adults, on sustainability. We don't sponsor baseball teams and stuff like that. It has to be that way. And then what we do is we try to team up together. I'll give you another one. Every time we have a meeting, like right now, there's 300 people in New Orleans, that this afternoon, instead of playing golf, and any meeting that we do this. We send people ahead of time, and we talk to the social people that needs help. So what would you like? And so we go to a senior citizen home, poor, and we'll say, what do you need? Or we'll go to a food bank, or we'll go to a school, or we'll go to, we were in New Orleans, name it, we got it. I mean, there's a plenty of use for people. So then you have 300 people coming and helping with specific projects that we're going to do in the 5 hours of a day. Instead of playing golf, that's what we do. And so every time we have a meeting somewhere in Chile, in Argentina, in Uruguay, wherever, we do the same. That's one way. But we bring our customer with us. And that's an interesting point because we bring our customer with us and they feel so good after this exercise. I've seen people cry on the bus going back. We had a group of young kids who were Down syndrome. And they had a little lot there with a little cabana, and they were playing soccer, and they had a garden. So the garden was just shot. So we prepared all their garden. We redid the whole garden. We painted stuff for them. We played soccer for them. For a whole afternoon. When we left, these kids were all around the bus, the two buses that we had, and they were just waving and shouting, come back, and stuff like that. There were people, like adult in the bus, they were just crying. Business people, tears in their eyes. And when we asked people, how were you the proudest to work at Interface? 8 out of 10, it'll be what we call a legacy project. So and we have all kinds of ways. India is a different way. Europe is a different way, but for us in the Americas, that's our way. In India, it's called Share Work. They have a program to share the work. So there's all kinds, but I have to say, we don't do enough on the social part. If you've seen that presentation, there's a lot of it that has to do with the ecology. And now we're focusing more on the social aspect of it. What's the social impact of our product? We've put a plant in Shanghai and in Thailand. We pay probably twice the amount in dollars for 1 hour of work of an individual than the norm around that place. We don't pay necessarily the lowest wage in Thailand because we're in Thailand and the wage is low. And we respect the culture there. Like for instance, if the tufter, and if the tufter, they think that the tufter doesn't work properly. Let's say a tufter regularly, it's like click, 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 clack, click, 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 clack, and then suddenly it goes clack, 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 stop everything. And a monk has to come in and sort of bless the tufter, and we stop everything, and then we start again after. So there's a respect of culture. There's a respect and bring some of the culture on the legacy projects. So, and the share of knowledge, and we bring these people to the Thailand and the Chinese people that we have, and try to get them to understand what we're trying to do here. But trust me, the Chinese, they get it. They get it. They're really engaged, and they're trying to participate, very engaged. But we always feel that we don't do enough. We always have that thing of saying, you know, we don't do enough. Maybe next year we got to do more. Did I answer your question? Yeah. All right. Any other? People that are over 50 in my company at Interface? There's a bunch. And that's the worry, because in the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be retiring. So now we're hiring younger Salesforce and workers and everything. And we're trying to, that's a good question, because we're trying also to bring diversity and bring more women. We have more women in management today than we've ever had. And that was a big problem for us. Women were not attracted to go into textile. They had other fields, but textile was not one of them. They were in the beginning of the century, but not anymore. But now we're attracting a lot of women in management, not just in workers or salespeople, in management. And we're very proud of that. And obviously the minority, visible minority, a big issue. We are having problem attracting minority, visible minority, I mean. So we have gays and lesbians in the United States, a huge issue. We pay the same benefit to same-sex couple as we do for heterosexual couple. In Georgia, trust me, that's rare. Very rare, because, you know, there's an element of Christian and faith and all that come into play, but we do it. So, you've been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your energy. And if my business card is in the front, if I could be of any help to you, send me an email. Just tell me where I saw you. That helps a lot. All right? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Claude, thank you very much. Your words will be echoing and reverberating all along the diploma course. Yes. Many subjects that you talk about will be heard again, and it will be very powerful, all the ideas you brought to us.
Thank you.
And at the end, we were having a biomimicry speak with the Biomimicry Institute people, and we are having also a workshop after that, a small workshop and a whole week workshop.
On biomimicry?
On biomimicry with people from the Biomimicry Institute.
You're going to love this. I tell you, you're going to love this.
So if you are interested, you have information. The people who is not at the diploma course, we have here more information for that. So thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you. I make a collection of those. Thank you.